7 police cars, 4 FBI agents, a woman's DNA swabbed from her own kitchen, and the terrifying conclusion authorities reached that night, that 2 people had posed as federal agents and walked freely inside a home on the same street where Nancy Guthrie vanished. That was the conclusion. For 4 hours, it was the working theory. Then, the next afternoon, the phone rang. Before we get into what that call revealed and what a retired FBI special agent says the blood evidence at the scene now suggests about Nancy's condition when she left that house, drop a comment right now. Do you think Nancy Guthrie was alive when she was taken? We're going to come back to that question before this video ends, because the answer may be more disturbing than you expect. Subscribe if you haven't already. This case is moving, and you need to be here when it breaks. It is day 38 in the search for Nancy Guthrie. The neighborhood is quiet. In the last several days, no visible FBI presence. No Pima County Sheriff's detectives working the street. But the absence of visible activity does not mean nothing is happening. And 2 developments from this investigation deserve very careful examination, because one involves a chain of events so strange that even a retired FBI special agent initially struggled to explain it. And the other involves blood. Let's start with the agents at the door. The second Friday night after Nancy Guthrie disappeared, 2 individuals arrived at a home belonging to a woman who lives on the same street, not Nancy's address, but nearby. It was approximately 7:30 in the evening. It was cold. It was raining. They were wearing black hoodies, no raid jackets, no visible uniforms. On one hoodie, a small emblem, just the letters FBI. They knocked. They rang the doorbell, frantically, witnesses would later say. The woman answered. She let them in. Inside, they had 2 requests. They wanted to know if she had a pacemaker, and they wanted to look inside her garage. The male agent, for the duration of the visit, did not remove his hoodie. He barely spoke. He, by the woman's own account, unsettled her. 20 minutes later, they left. The woman called her sister, then a niece. The question that surfaced almost immediately, were those actually FBI? She rang the FBI's general line. The call didn't connect, so she dialed 911. What happened next is where this gets serious. Within 10 to 15 minutes, 7 police vehicles arrived. 4 FBI agents responded. And the official assessment, delivered at the scene after what would become a 4-hour investigation, was this: we have no record of those individuals. We don't know who they were. We believe they may have been imposters. The woman's mouth was swabbed for DNA. Her entire house was fingerprinted. Investigators worked through the night. She went to bed, believing 2 people had posed as federal agents and entered her home, connected, somehow, to the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. Why would anyone do that? What were they looking for? And why did they ask about a pacemaker? Those questions were still unanswered the following morning. But at 3:00 p.m. the next day, she received a call from the group of agents who had been at her house the previous night. The message: the woman who visited your home was in fact a legitimate FBI agent. We confirmed it. Her report came through. You're fine. The response from the woman was direct. No, I'm not fine. Tell me her name. Tell me exactly what this was. They didn't. Retired FBI Special Agent Maureen O'Connell reviewed the details of this incident. Her assessment is measured, but revealing. Standard FBI protocol when approaching a residence. Agents present a dual placard credential. It opens like a wallet. FBI printed across the top. Photo and name on the lower panel. It is, as O'Connell notes, something most members of the public have never seen before. In poor conditions, rain, cold, low light, it is entirely plausible a resident might not register what she was shown. The small emblem on the hoodie? That, O'Connell confirms, is standard issue personal equipment that agents purchase themselves. It is not unusual. It is not suspicious. What is unusual, the male agent keeping his hoodie on inside the house. In O'Connell's assessment, that will be addressed internally. That is not standard. And in a situation where residents are already frightened, that behavior compounds anxiety unnecessarily. Her explanation for the communication breakdown: the two agents were likely assigned a defined area, a block, a grid section, and deviated slightly. Perhaps the adjacent block. Perhaps they believed the address was within their assigned zone. The report wasn't filed before the evening ended. By the time the responding agents ran their checks, there was no record to find. 4 hours of investigative work, fingerprinting, DNA collection, 7 vehicles, multiple personnel, because one agent hadn't yet submitted paperwork. Is it a failure? Yes. Is it explainable? Also yes. O'Connell is unambiguous. In the early stages of a large, multi-agency investigation, communications failures are not the exception. They are almost always in the after-action report. The pacemaker question, however, remains unexplained. O'Connell's one suggestion that it may relate to some form of RF signal analysis is speculative. There is no confirmed explanation. That question stays open. Quick pause. If you've been following the Nancy Guthrie case and something in this story doesn't sit right with you, type it in the comments. We read every single one. What stands out most to you so far? The pacemaker question, the man who wouldn't take his hood off, or something else entirely? Hit subscribe if you haven't. The next update on this case could change everything. Set the pacemaker question aside for a moment, because there is a second line of evidence in this case that carries significantly more weight than an unexplained procedural visit. Forensic analysis of blood evidence recovered from the scene points to something that is difficult to process. No void, no footprints. 2 sets of blood droplets with aspiration present in at least one larger pooling site. Aspiration, a medical term for blood expelled through the airway, not from a wound, not from gravity, from breath. Moran O'Connell's analysis of the blood pattern evidence is delivered carefully, but the implication is stark. The absence of footprints in a space where blood is present, combined with the absence of a void, suggests the following scenario. 2 individuals carried Nancy Guthrie. Her body was not self-supporting. She was not walking. She was transported horizontally or near horizontally by at least 2 people. Her head at some point during that movement tilted. Blood fell in a pattern consistent with that position. The aspiration present in the larger pooled area suggests that at the moment that blood was expelled, she was breathing. O'Connell's conclusion, stated with appropriate caution: Nancy Guthrie was most likely alive, possibly unconscious, but alive, when she was removed from that house. The absence of tape or obstruction around the blood pattern also informs this. Had she been conscious and restrained, the pattern would likely differ. Does this mean she survived what came next? O'Connell does not claim that. 38 days have now passed. The emotional weight of that timeline is something O'Connell acknowledges directly and with visible difficulty. The window for a different outcome narrows with each day. What the blood evidence does suggest is a minimum of 2 perpetrators, a vehicle positioned nearby, and some form of communication between the 2, whether a walkie-talkie, a handheld radio, or another device, used to coordinate the moment of exit from the front of the house. The figure on the porch captured in earlier footage? O'Connell's assessment, not sophisticated enough to be operating signal jamming equipment independently. The more likely scenario, a relay device, simple, functional, a signal to whoever was waiting. There is a third thread, and it may connect everything. A neighbor, speaking from her bathroom window, described a figure she observed sometime around the 11th of January. Street clothes, baseball cap pulled low, hunched posture, moving slowly, not exercising, surveilling. When he passed a particular junction, he stopped and looked. Not a glance, a deliberate, extended look. He did not belong there. The neighbor was certain. The FBI has been requesting video footage from other residents, specifically for January 11th. That date is not arbitrary. Multiple data points are converging on it. O'Connell's read: this individual was likely already on the FBI's radar before this neighbor came forward. Her account added corroboration to an existing lead, pushed someone further up the list. The neighbor did not give a precise date. She said around her birthday. Law enforcement already had the 11th. She confirmed the window. What were they looking for on that street? What did that person see or confirm that day? One final development. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos is now the subject of a statement issued by his own department following scrutiny from a local publication over discrepancies in his publicly posted resume. The Pima County Sheriff's Department confirmed 2 corrections. Sheriff Nanos served with the El Paso Police Department from 1976 to 1982, not 1984 as previously stated. He was promoted to the rank of captain in 2007, not 2009. The department characterized both as administrative errors, not intentional misrepresentation. The timing is notable. Whether it is relevant to the Guthrie investigation remains unconfirmed. The investigation is ongoing. The pacemaker question has no confirmed answer. The January 11th footage requests suggest law enforcement has a focal point they have not disclosed. The blood evidence, as interpreted by a former federal agent, points to Nancy Guthrie being carried, alive, out of that house by at least 2 people. 38 days. Here is the question I want you to answer in the comments, and think carefully before you do. If she was alive when she left that house, where do you think she was taken? And why has no one found her yet? Drop your theory below. The most compelling responses get pinned. Subscribe for every update as this case develops, because something in this investigation is about to move.